welcome to a podcast about something where each week I'm joined by a fellow podcaster as we take a deep dive into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host Calvin, and this week I'm joined by Frank from the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast as we're going to talk about Disney World. How you doing tonight, Frank?
Doing great, Calvin. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to having this discussion.
Well, yeah, thank you for joining me. You are from Florida. I am from Florida, and we were trying to figure out something to talk about. And what is more Florida than Disney World?
Absolutely.
Can you, before we get into Disney World, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast, what you cover, how often, where they can follow you, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hosted Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. So basically, started the podcast June of this year. So it's a newer podcast. I'm 13 episodes in. I try to record weekly. I haven't been able to do that recently. It's been pretty hectic on the personal front. But basically, what I do is I talk about the three things that I'm passionate about, which is sports, movies, and politics. So each specific show is dedicated to one of those topics. So the last episode dealt with going out to vote with the midterms just passing by. And then, like I said, I do sports and movies as well. Those are the three things I'm pretty passionate about. And again, I record those weekly when I can. I am on Twitter at Bend Your Ear Pod. That's also the Instagram handle. The show can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Castbox, Stitcher, and TuneIn is where you can get it.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you're into politics, sports, or movies, or one of the three, which in this world, I don't know how you can't be into at least one of the three of those things, definitely check out the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. He'll even go and do bad movies like Failure to Launch you recently did. You
Yeah,
have a rom-com corner every once in a while, so that's fun.
yeah, absolutely.
But today we're talking about Disney World, and we're just gonna kind of go. We'll give a little history of Disney World. Just I don't know. I always like to give history of topics when we do a new topic, and then we'll talk about the different. I guess they're theme parks within Disney World, and maybe some of the resorts, stuff like that.
Uh,
You're from right down the road from Orlando, so you probably get there more than I do. But I've gone 3 times in the last 2 years now with having small children, so we're annual pass holders now, so I don't think I can avoid it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. We finally gave in. My wife is a big Disney fan, and then we finally gave in and got annual passes because it was one of those situations, where you live, where there's a theme park or some kind of place where a lot of people go. When you live in the city, you don't really end up going that much because you always know it's there.
Hmm.
But then now we have a 5-year-old, so we definitely finally gave in and got the annual passes. So what we do actually now, which is great since we live in Orlando, is we'll randomly, especially when the weather gets cooler, we'll go on a Friday or Saturday night, literally get there at 6 o'clock, go there for a few hours. So there's not a lot of people. The weather is great. You get in and out of all the rides. So we found that to be a recent thing to do instead of going for a whole day. We still do our vacations there, but we pop in and out when we feel like just going in for a couple of rides.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm about 3 hours away, so we're a little too far to pop in and out. But we've done like a weekend trip. That's about as quickest turnaround. You just hit Magic Kingdom for a day and
Right.
drive up and drive back, pretty much. But yeah, it's always a fun time. We're going again in early December, so this will be. Both my girls have gone once. My 4-year-old's gone twice. This will be her third time, and then my 2-year-old has gone already. But the last time she kind of slept
Right.
through most of the stuff, so she'll be kind of ready to go. She loves theme park rides and all that, so it's going to be exciting to see her this time. We're going with some of my wife's family, so we got kind of the extended family going. So
Yeah, that's
it'll
always the
be a
best
trip for
when
sure.
the kids, when my little one was getting older, like his first trip, he kind of liked it, but then when you see when they start to remember stuff, that's always the most fun anyway, because you can kind of see the park
Hmm.
through their eyes as opposed to as an adult, which is that's always the fun part of that.
Man, my 4-year-old, she remembers every step. Like, so after we got back the last time, she started playing like pretend. She calls it Mickey's House. And so she would play pretend every night. We'd play Mickey's House, and we'd get there. We'd go to the hotel. We'd sleep. We'd wake up. Mickey would call us on the phone to wake us up. Then we'd go there. We'd see the fairy godmother show, and she would start it off with the fireworks, and then we'd go on this ride and that ride, and then we'd meet this princess and that princess, and then we'd go to lunch here, and it like she would step through every step that
Oh,
we
that's
actually
fantastic.
did the whole time, and like she's just a sponge with her memories, and she can remember everything better than my wife and I can. And we're like, she'll say like, "Well, we did this," and we have no idea what she's talking about. And then she eventually gives us enough details to go like, "Oh yeah, we did that two
Yeah,
and a
it's
half years
insane
ago.
what they
How in the world do
remember.
you
I mean,
remember
yeah,
that?"
like with my little one too. Like, and this is I think what Disney does so brilliantly as opposed to marketing. I mean, between the parks and the movies and the toys and it's constantly in the kids' heads. So I think they tie everything together and remember things that you're like,
Hmm.
wow, how did you remember that? You only saw like in this case now, my son's now into Toy Story. He's really starting to get into it. He's finally seen all the movies and now he knows all the characters' names, what he wants
Hmm.
for Christmas, and it's just like, and I mean, he's only seen the movies maybe once, maybe twice, so it's not like he's seen them dozens of times, but he's already ingrained them, all the characters. And then when we go to the park, one of his favorite rides, at Magic Kingdom is Buzz Lightyear, so we do that one every time we go. That's the one we must do.
Yeah, that one's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
My 2-year-old has just in the past week gotten very into Monsters Inc. out of nowhere. Like we watched it one time kind of in the background, and ever since that's the only thing she wants to watch. And but like you said, she knows every character from every other movie, even if we haven't watched that movie with her.
Yep.
My 4-year-old's probably seen most of the princess movies, but she's kind of had control over the TV for most of the 2-year-old's life because she knows what she wants to watch, and it's always been the same thing. Like she went through a Rapunzel phase, and then a Princess and the Frog phase, and now she's in a like Daniel Tiger phase, so we don't even watch Disney movies that much. But yet my 2-year-old somehow knows every princess from every movie, all their, all the little friends and whatever. I don't know how she knows them all, but
Yeah.
they're there. So yeah, Disney is everywhere. But we're going to talk about Disney World, which opened up in October 1971. It covers 25,000 acres in the Orlando area, not technically a part of Orlando. It's actually basically it's two cities, Lake Buena, I can't say that word, Lake
Right.
Buena Vista, and I don't remember what the other city that it encompasses, but they're completely owned by Disney and they were bought that way, so there would be no zoning laws against them. Basically, Disney holds all of the voting power in those two little communities. So there's 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 27 themed hotels, 9 non-Disney hotels, several golf courses, camping resort, and a shopping center, which is Disney Springs, which is a little out of the way, but still technically part of their property, I guess. It was developed, and this is all from Wikipedia. If anybody's going to come after me for my sources, like I literally just copied the first paragraph of Wikipedia, so don't shoot me for it. It was developed by Walt Disney in the 60s. He wanted to present a distinct vision of this park and its attractions that was separate from Disneyland in California. However, he died before its completion. So Magic Kingdom was completed in 1971. Epcot came in 82. Hollywood Studios 1989, and then the Animal Kingdom in 1998. The Animal Kingdom's the only one I remember opening and it being like a big deal because I lived in northern Florida then, and it was like everybody was rushing to get to Disney World after Animal Kingdom opened because it was a little bit after Lion King, and so just everybody wanted to get there and see all those sites, I guess.
Yeah, their timing is always particularly on point when it comes to cross marketing, those things like that. I know in the history of the park, I remember I read actually a short a survey by Carl Hiaasen, the Miami author, who wrote about the purchasing of the land in and around Orange County when Disney was looking to build the park here. So basically, what he did was he bought the land under anything other than the Disney name, so he get it dirt cheap, and was able to
Hmm.
do that. And I think the other municipality that developed is the Reedy Creek District. Management District is what is called. And if you
Okay.
drive through Orlando, drive to the parks, you'll see, yeah, it's basically a self-contained government. They have their own fire department. So basically, like you said, it's basically they own it and they run it. So basically, they're their own government within the area of Lake Buena Vista. So exactly, they were brilliant enough to make sure that they were in charge of everything regarding the land and the utilities and everything that goes along with running the park.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've done a great job of building it out, and they're still building more and more. They just added the Toy Story World in Hollywood Studios, and then next is going to be the Star Wars editions. So it's going to be really interesting to see it grow over the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
It's the most visited vacation resort in the world, if you couldn't have guessed that, and the average attendance is over 52 million people per year, which is a
That's
crazy
insane.
number. So you said you're from the Orlando area. Do you ever stay? You do vacations there, so you stay in the resorts,
Right.
or
Yeah,
you
we
stay
do.
at home and just go back and forth?
Yeah, great point. On the little weekend trips, we just, yeah, I live about 30 minutes away from the park, so when we do our little nights, we just go up there real quick, couple of hours, come back home. We're actually going to have a stay at the resort Thanksgiving weekend. So a little bit before you're going, we're actually going to be there the day before Thanksgiving through that whole weekend. We've never done that before, so we're kind of looking forward to that. We've never actually spent a holiday at the resort. So this is going to be the first time we do that. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, usually once a year we'll take a vacation where we do a week at the resort. We usually stay at the I forgot the name of the resort now, Wilderness Lodge, which is my wife's favorite resort. But we've stayed
Oh
at the
yeah,
Key
that's a good
West.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's her favorite. She loves that, so we try to stay there. We've stayed at the boardwalk, which is a lot of fun too. But yeah, we definitely do when we do our vacation, we stay at the resort.
The Fort Wilderness is really great because there's so much to do there. Like they have bikes you can rent, and they have like all these. I think I remember I was probably like 12 or 13 when we stayed at Fort Wilderness, so I'm trying to remember back. But like you could rent jet skis or like all these different kind of water sports because they're right on a lake. And that there's just a ton to do there. It's really like its own campsite, but it's kind of self-contained, so you're more safe. I don't really like camping, but there I did. You didn't really feel like you were camping. We stayed in one of the actual lodges, so it was a lot of fun just to be able to kind of do all that other stuff and feel like you were camping without actually camping. And then you go to Disney World on top
No,
of
I'm
it.
totally with you. I don't do camping. I'm not a fan of camping. When I stayed there, actually, it's funny you say that. I stayed there when I was about 15. So that's the last time I've actually been to Fort Wilderness, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. We stayed in one of the lodges there, so it's basically the kind of camping I like, where you have a comfortable bed and indoor plumbing, and still do all the outdoor fun stuff too. So you get the best of both worlds. So yeah, I definitely love that type of camping.
Yeah, that's the way to go. My favorite resort is the Polynesian, because that one has I think the best pool out of the ones I've stayed at. Has the best pool area. They've got a really big pool with a couple of slides, kind of smaller slides going into it, and then they've got that they developed since the first time I went there. I was probably 8 to 10 years old, and then we went the first time we took my now 4-year-old Emily. We stayed there again, so this was 2 years ago, I think. Um, and they've developed this big like kids playground inside the pool where they've got all these water guns and buckets that you can dump, and it's just spraying water everywhere. Um, and yeah, it was the pool areas at that are the best. So like to me, if you have a hotel day planned in your vacation and you're in Florida, you want a good pool.
Absolutely. No, agreed, agreed. It's funny because we're members of the vacation club, so when we stay, bringing up Animal Kingdom, we stay at the resorts there, which is, and one of my issues with Animal Kingdom is the vacation club resorts are way, because you know that resort is way out on the property, so it's far away from pretty much everything. So when you stay there, it's when you go to your room for that section, it's tough. And we actually found that the regular pool, because there's a member pool for the vacation club, and then the pool that the rest of the guests stay at and use, we found that pool actually to be fantastic. So if you've never
Yeah,
been, yeah, that Animal Kingdom, really big, really roomy. It's, even when there's a lot of people there, it doesn't feel crowded, which is one of my always favorite things about a pool. When you can have a lot of people there, yet it still doesn't feel very crowded, which is great. So because there's plenty of room to swim or lay out if you want to lay out. So that's one of our favorite pools there as well.
we'll have to check that one out in the future. I think the next one my wife because when we go this time because we're going with so many people, we're staying in kind of I think we're staying in the Art of Disney. Is that what it's called?
Yes, yes, no, and those, yeah, those look
Yeah,
cool because like they have the animator one. Yeah, like you said, I think those are. I've never been to those,
I
but
think that's the
yeah,
one. It is the
yeah, I
animator
think that's
one.
gonna be cool.
So we're staying there this time, and but I think the next one she wants to do is one of the boardwalk ones. When we go just by our little family instead of having the extended family there. So as we progress through this and we kind of go through each part, I wanted to kind of tell like interesting stories or strange stories that we found from each kind of section, each park, and then maybe some from the resorts. The most interesting thing I found on the resorts actually revolves around my favorite resort, the Polynesian. Apparently, this is where the Beatles officially broke up. 1974, John Lennon signed the contract to dissolve the Beatles while staying at the Polynesian Resort in Disney World. I thought that was pretty interesting, and like, I would feel like maybe Disney. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe they don't want to play it up too much, but like that'd be kind of a cool thing to brag about if you were Disney.
Oh, I think so. I mean, that's an incredible. I never knew that. I mean, obviously you knew they broke up in 1969, 1970. Yeah, I never even realized that there was a Disney connection. That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah. Were you able to find any interesting, strange stories about the resorts, or should we just move into the parks?
No, I think the parks is where I found it. I tried to look for stuff for the resorts, and if I
There
don't,
wasn't a lot out there.
yeah, I think you found the best one. I don't think anything would top that one.
All right, so let's move into the parks. Let's start with the Animal Kingdom. I think I've got them in alphabetical order. Nope, I've just got them in some strange order, but we're going to start with Animal Kingdom because that's first on my notes. Um, so the Animal Kingdom, I found an interesting story about the Animal Kingdom that part of the park when it was originally built was supposed to be called Beastly Kingdom, and it was supposed to be basically a part of the park that featured fantasy creatures like dragons and unicorns and stuff like that. There's still some like logos and things around the park that you can see that kind of contain this imagery. And the part that was supposed to become Beastly Kingdom is now the Avatar Land. Let me see. They were working on a dragon themed ride, and once they decided they weren't going to go with that, the designers who were working on that dragon themed ride were actually hired by Universal Studios to do the dragon themed rides at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, they had two roller coasters planned in the beginning: the Dragon Tower and the Quest for the Unicorn. Or I guess that was a hedge maze was going to be the Quest for the Unicorn. Um, I thought that would kind of be cool to bring it because they've got like the dinosaur land and then they've got the safari and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be cool to have like these fantasy creatures, and they've done that a little with the Avatar land. I don't know, Avatar's not that exciting to me. As a movie, it's very beautiful, but it's not that great of a movie. So I think I kind of would have rather had the fantasy animal world.
No, I agree with that. It's funny with Avatar too, because I agree with you. I think Avatar is a average movie to below average movie. The thing is that when I actually went to Avatar Land, though, I was actually impressed with how they built it. I
Hmm.
was, and I've taken dozens of pictures since I've been there. The suspended large rocks with plants on it that are like almost looks like they're freestanding up in the air. I thought was pretty spectacular. I was actually really impressed by that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really cool, and
yeah,
it's even better at night
yeah.
because you can't kind of see some of the in between things, and then it's got all the lights and stuff too that make it that much more immersive.
Yeah, I mean that was the first time in a long time, and I love Disney that I was like visibly impressed by. I was like, wow, that actually was outstanding, and obviously they took a lot of care into doing it. Now I haven't rode the main attraction ride, the ride through Pandora. I haven't done that because my little one doesn't want to do that, so we haven't waited in line to do that one. But I heard it's spectacular as well.
Those lines are
Yeah,
very long right now.
so I'm thinking the attraction is better than the actual movie.
Yeah, the we went on the boat ride um, because that with my daughter that's about all she's up for.
Yeah.
And that one was pretty cool. It was just a pretty slow kind of river ride on a boat, kind of akin to a small world, but like much more beautiful, I guess, with the scenery and everything, and just light up plants and all that kind of stuff. We haven't gone on the flying bird dragon things
Right.
that they fly in the moon. I don't know what they call it. We haven't gone on that one yet, but I think we have fast passes to do it when we go in December.
Yeah, that's one we
So
have to do
that'll
as
be.
well. Yeah, absolutely.
But the line's always like 300 minutes long, so
Ooh.
that's if you don't have a fast pass, there's no making it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Did you find anything interesting on Animal Kingdom?
I did find I know they started to plan the park. They announced it in 1995. I thought it was interesting. They opened it actually April 22nd of 98, which happened to be
Hmm.
Earth Day. So they picked that particular day to open it. Apparently Walt Disney was a big believer in the environment. It was important to him, which is why they kind of pursued opening Animal Kingdom. But obviously, I think the thing that I run into is I think people have, and it hasn't been really that loud spoken, but with the animals around, you always have the people that are, for animals, not protesting is probably the wrong word, but maybe, criticizing Disney for going into that realm of having animals captured, even though you have them in the safari element and kind of in a natural element as you can have them. That's really the biggest thing that I found. But I know that Disney goes to great lengths to make sure that these animals are taken care of. And I know a lot of what they do is giving back to conservation. I guess it's always that same argument that you people would have like with SeaWorld and other parks where there's animals
Hmm.
between conservation and are you treating the animals the best way by keeping them in captivity. So I think there's always that push and pull when it comes to that.
Yeah, I did read through my research for this. They do house quite a few endangered species there and are helping bring them back, I guess. Because there is a lot of conservation going on within the park, but at
Right.
the same time, like you said, they're in captivity, so it's kind of this push and pull between you know what's right and what's wrong there, I guess.
Right.
Um, I wanted to, while we go through each park, talk about our favorite attractions at each park. My favorite ride is the Everest ride, which super cool roller coaster, very fast. You get to go up high and then you start going backwards, and that's always one of my favorite things on a roller coaster is when you get to go backwards. I don't know why. That's always just been my go-to. If a roller coaster goes backwards, I'm there all day. And the great thing about Everest is it has the single rider line, which is great for me and my wife. We're usually swapping fast passes. You don't necessarily have to get a fast pass if you're there with your kids and one parent's got to watch the kid and the other has to go wants to go on the ride. You just go on that single rider line, and it's basically like you have a fast pass without wasting one, which is always nice.
That's a great idea. I actually never thought of doing it that way. I always forget that that option is available.
It's not available on every ride. You have to find
Right.
the ones that it is, but it's if one of them has that, that's a great way to kind of cut the line. If you don't mind riding with strangers.
Yeah, exactly. No, not at all. Especially with something like that, because I agree. That's probably the best ride there. I don't think I have a different one there. And like I'm with you. There's not very many roller coasters
Hmm.
that go backwards. So when you find one, it's pretty rare. So I'm trying to remember. I think the last time I went on one that went backwards was in New Jersey, a Great Adventure. I think if I remember right. So that was a long time ago. You
Yeah.
don't see those very often.
I went on one in Glens Falls, New York called the Boomerang. I don't remember what the theme park was called, but that one was basically you went forward, you did a loop, and you got all the way to the top, and then you went backwards and went through the loop again, and you just ran through it back and forth twice. So I guess that's probably where my love for the backwards roller coaster started.
Yeah.
Um, Another great thing about the Animal Kingdom is it's a great park for parents because it has the huge dinosaur themed playground. The first time we went there, we found the playground. We didn't really even know it was there. We knew there was a playground, but we didn't know it was as expansive as it is. My daughter played for almost an hour, and like she didn't even climb up or go on any of the big slides or anything like that. And then we went the second time, and through a little bit more exploring, we found on the other side of the playground there's this huge um, sandbox, I guess it is, where you can kind of like dig, like there's big dinosaur bones hidden in it, and you can dig through it. But the sand is not real sand; it's like rubber chips, very very fine rubber chips, so it doesn't get stuck to you or your kids while you're going through it. And that was another almost an hour the second time we went, just spent playing between the sandbox and the playground. Um, Great if you're a parent and you need a break for an hour to just let your kids run.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. And we've done that as well. And I think that's one of the great things about that park. That's more of a I kind of put it akin to Epcot. It's more of a strolling, leisurely
Hmm.
walk through the park as opposed to the maddening getting to every ride when you're at Magic Kingdom or even at Hollywood Studios to a certain extent. But yeah, definitely Animal Kingdom is a more leisurely day if you schedule it out right. And like I said, you have those moments where you can take either a sitting break while your kid's playing or play with your kids, and it's not super hyper or super
Right.
crazy.
A lot of kind of shaded areas there too, which is nice in the Florida heat. And then, do you have any tips for visiting the Animal Kingdom?
Well, it's a tip. Yeah, for that one, I think get there early because I think a lot of the stuff you can do, like I said, less people at the park. It's not super crazy. If you go, I mean, obviously, if you go on the busy days, it's crazier. But I find when we go to that park, it's not super packed. And I think because I think people when they come, especially if they stay multiple days, they usually don't make Animal Kingdom their first stop. It's usually everybody goes to Magic Kingdom first, of course, understandably. And then I think it's either Epcot or Hollywood Studios. So Animal Kingdom is kind of the one they save. So I think if you are
Hmm.
strategic about that, I've never been there where it's been super packed.
It doesn't ever
You know,
feel packed. The only time I've ever
yeah,
felt packed is going into the Lion King show. Like that can get packed
yes,
because everybody's waiting for it.
yep,
But like other than that, like even the African Safari, which is one of the most attended rides, like that line doesn't ever feel like you're not moving or like you're claustrophobic in it. Which that was going to be my point, and it goes right along with you saying get there early.
yep.
If you get on the safari first thing in the morning, that's your best chance to kind of see the animals actually doing things rather than just laying in the shade. The
Right.
first time we went, I think we went on safari at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and none of the animals were up and moving around except like the alligators. Um, which in Florida you can see alligators basically
Yeah.
go around the corner and you can see all the alligators you want. But then the next time we went earlier in the morning and you could kind of see they were up moving around. At least they weren't necessarily running around, but they were up moving around. Some were eating, doing things like that. So the best time to go on the safari is first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and then that's a good point too. And the other one, and actually either first thing in the morning, and we've been a couple of times. My son always wants to see, obviously since he saw the Lion King, he wants to see the lion up on the top of the mountain. And I know
Mm-hmm.
they're a little more nocturnal, so I know that our guide told us to try to come at night. So we actually did one in dusk, right at sunset, and you were able to see the lion out. Because a lot of
Oh,
times
that's
if you go
pretty
during
cool.
the day, yeah, it was cool. So you see the lion, then you saw the lion, and you saw the female lion as well. It's harder during the day because they're kind of away during the day, but you're right. If you go earlier, you get to see a lot of the other animals. But if you're looking for that specific animals, that's the time to go. And then when we did it, we were able to see it, which was pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I might have to tell my wife to change the fast pass now, especially because we're going in December. It's going to be cool anyways, so the animals should
Yeah,
be out most of the day.
that's true.
I might try and go for that because that would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
So let's move on. You got anything else on Animal Kingdom?
You brought up just real quick though, the Lion King show. We've
Yeah,
seen it. It's my son's favorite. It's really well done. It's a great
it's a
show.
really good show.
Yeah, it is really good. I've seen it a bunch of times and I still love it. It's really really good. It's really great. I recommend it for anyone. I mean, kids or no kids. It's really really well done.
Yeah, the dancing is great, and the
Yeah.
the song the actors, I guess, that they get to play the singing parts is they're all just fantastic at
Yeah.
singing those each individual part that they sing, and then the dancers are amazing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so next is Hollywood Studios. Were you able to find anything interesting happening at Hollywood Studios?
Interesting. I guess the main thing is, and I guess I will follow into the personal stories part of this, but it was funny. I remember going there when the park first opened,
Hmm.
and Tower of Terror was their signature ride, which it still is to a certain extent. But I remember, I don't know if you went there back then. If you do remember, when you first went on that ride, when the park first opened,
I have
it
never
only
been on the
had.
Tower of Terror.
Oh, okay, okay. But it used to have just one drop, so it was kind of anticlimactic. So you wait in this long line. The wait was kind of cool because there's when you first get into before you get on the ride. If you ever seen the Twilight Zone show, they play the
Hmm.
theme. They play the opening title sequence where I don't know if you remember it. It's there's clocks flying, there's stuff flying, and then Rod Serling's narration, and
Right.
then they set you up to get on the ride, which is I always love the visual effect that they do there. But when the park first opened, they would only drop you once and then ride's over. So you get in, you get dropped. So that's probably 3 seconds, 4 seconds tops, and
Yeah, I remember
you,
always hearing that, and I think that's why we never went. Is like, okay,
yeah,
you wait 2 hours for this ride, and then it's
yes,
done in five. You drop once, and you're done.
right. So to Disney's credit, I don't know how long after, it may have been a 6 months to a year, they changed it to 2.5 drops. So now when you go on, it's worth it because they drop you. It was 2.5 and maybe two now, but it's more than one drop.
Gotcha.
Which is for some people which may be more horrifying than just one, but but it's great now that they've done it that way.
I don't mind the drive. See, my as a kid, nobody would ever go on it in my family,
Right.
and then now when I go with my wife, she doesn't like that dropping feeling. Like she doesn't like roller coasters that have steep drops. She doesn't
Mhm.
like that stuff. So I still don't. I've never been on that one, and I
Yeah.
probably won't. It's not something that like I feel like I'm missing.
Right. Right.
The most interesting thing I could find is that the Indiana Jones show, which is one of the premier attractions there. I remember seeing this when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Um, it debuted in 1989, so they've had several injuries to the Indiana Jones performers. One fell 30 feet after a support cable failed. Another fell 25 feet directly onto concrete. And then a third actor plummeted 25 feet after a prop ladder collapsed underneath him. I guess OSHA got involved and tried to, you know, basically clean it up, make it safer, and it's still going. And 20 years later, I guess around 2009, a performer actually died while performing in the show.
Wow.
So that is not a very safe show for the performers, and I couldn't imagine being in that crowd watching one of those performers either get injured or die. Like that would be crazy to witness that. Like I don't know how you would go on with your fun day after that.
Yeah, that's kind of a down, that's kind of a downer. Yeah, that's crazy. And I've seen that show several times, and yeah, they definitely the stunts are dangerous. I mean, you can see that it's not they go full throttle on them, and yeah, they're pretty dangerous. So I'm not surprised there's been injuries. I didn't know there was a death. I did That's actually news to me. I knew there'd been injuries there, but and I'm sure there's injuries that we don't know about.
Oh yeah.
Just from performing stunts. I mean, I'm sure you're sore every day doing that job.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. The other interesting thing is that Toy Story World. We talked a little bit about this in the open. Just opened. This is. I don't think they could have hit the nail on the head any better for an area of a theme park of just making everything giant so you feel like a toy and just basically what goes into Toy Story is so much fun for adults and kids to go around. They have the one Toy Story ride there, which is a lot of fun, and then just expanding on that and making this whole world out of it, I think is going to be really exciting. And I'm excited to spend time there this next time that we go.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't. Yeah, it's funny because we've been there a couple of times, and we've purposely waited until our vacation here in Thanksgiving to go. I haven't gone yet. We've been to Disney a couple of times, but we've actually avoided it
Hmm.
because we want to get the full experience. I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
some of the promotional videos on it, and I agree. I think it was a brilliant strategy to make everything huge and make you small in that. I think that's the best way to best portray those movies and it's funny because I was always surprised how they hadn't done this sooner. I mean, the original Toy Story came out in 1995,
yeah.
and I always thought I'm like why, and I know they kind of they've got the Toy Story ride that's one of my favorites too, which is similar to Buzz Lightyear, just with the carnival aspect and you shooting plates as opposed to shooting the aliens. And
Hmm.
it's still a great ride as well. And I'm like, why don't they put? I never understood why they didn't put more Toy Story there. And now they've rectified that, and I've heard it's spectacular. So
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And like you said, you've gone a couple times and stayed away just because
yeah,
like you feel like you want to fully immerse yourself in it. You don't want to jump in for 20 minutes and like barely get on one ride and just then have to go on to your next thing or go back home.
exactly,
So
exactly.
I definitely get that. Um, yeah, I was gonna say, as far as personal story goes, I don't have a lot. This is for us the past few times we've gone. It's usually a pretty boring day. There's a lot of shows at Hollywood Studios, so we're mostly just going seeing shows. We've seen like the Beauty and the Beast show, the Frozen show, and then my daughters really like they do a Disney Junior show where a couple different Disney Junior shows come out and do different parts of like this whole cohesive storyline with Mickey Mouse Clubhouse gang. So most of our day is spent trying to rush between those shows, making sure we get to them on time. I haven't done any of the roller coasters or anything there yet. But this next time that we're going, I'm making sure I hit the Rock and Roller Coaster because our friends over at the Dishing Disney podcast said that that's one of the best rides in Hollywood Studios. So I want to make sure I hit that.
Agreed. It is a very good ride. I haven't been on it in a long time. Again, with my little one, I don't do the roller coasters, but yeah, it's one of the best ones. I was surprised because I remember when they first built it, because it's been there quite a long time, and I remember being skeptical because I'm like, I used to roller coasters all the time, and I'm like, I'm a snob about them. I'm like, oh, we'll see, Disney roller coaster, I'm not sure. And then I actually got on. I'm like, wow, that was actually really good. Like I was pleasantly surprised. It is a good one. Definitely a good roller coaster.
Yeah, and I like I'm a big Star Wars fan, so all the Star Wars stuff that they've got there, I'm waiting for it to build out more as they build the Star Wars world, but like everything that they've got there now is great. I can't really go on the not the Star Tours, but the other Star Wars ride that they have. I can't do those like 3D sit in the chair and the basically the scene moves around you. I can't do those. They give me motion sickness too much. So I haven't
Oh,
been on
okay.
that ride, but all the other Star Wars stuff I really enjoy. Just like walking through, they've got kind of like this museum set up, and you can do like build your own droid and lightsaber, and you can they do Imperial marches with all the stormtroopers and Darth Vader sometimes, and they do a really great Star Wars fireworks show, or at least they did one of the times we were there, and like I wasn't planning on watching that fireworks show, but as soon as it started, like I couldn't take my eyes off it. It was so great.
Yeah, they've done a good job integrating Star Wars area. My little one loves. Yeah, we have a prime spot. We stay in the same spot when the March of the Stormtroopers comes. So yeah, we can't go through the day without doing that at least once, sometimes twice, because he loves it. So we have our spot that we stay right in the front on the street. And yeah, the fireworks show is great as well. The other thing that's great there, Hollywood Studios, where we go when we go on our quick trips, is Fantasmic. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
We haven't
That
seen
show,
it. My
oh,
girls
fabulous.
are out on fireworks right now.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha. And the thing about that show is the fireworks aspect of it is only at the end. It's like about a 25-minute show, and it basically is um, a lot of images. So there's the water that comes up, and then images are projected onto the water, and then there's actors doing acting some of the movies.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
there is a fireworks element to it, but it's not completely fireworks. It's only a part of the show. But it's one of our favorites. We go every time we have a chance to go to that one. We fast pass that one and go because it's
We had
great.
a the last time we went, we had a plan to go to it. One of the shows we were at, we had to go to like the hour later showing instead of the hour earlier, just because of the way our schedule worked out that day. And then we had decided, because we did the fireworks show at Magic Kingdom the night before, and our girls were just totally out on it. They didn't care about it. I tried to go get food before the fireworks show started and could not make my way back to my family. Like, nobody is moving for anybody once the fireworks start going off. Nobody's paying attention to anything. They've either got their phones up at the fireworks, not paying attention to them, or they're just like totally lost in it. And
Yes.
I could make no progress through. So I ended up going back to like the main street where I had my food and just sat there until the fireworks were done and my family could join me. So I missed like my girls enjoying the fireworks, but turns out they didn't enjoy them. So we made the executive decision to not do any more fireworks shows while we were there. And actually, we're looking forward to it this time because a lot of the things I've read said during fireworks shows is a great time to get on rides because everybody's stuck watching the fireworks shows. So
That's true. Yeah.
we're excited to do that. Another thing that I picked up for this was in my tips part was for the Phantasmic show. They said it's an elusive happening, but you can catch what they call the character palooza, which basically between 4 and 7, all of the characters who are going to be in the Phantasmic show come into the park and do like a meet and greet with basically anybody who's around. But the location is varies from day to day. You never know where they're going to come in. It said for a while they were finding them by the gates to the Tower of Terror, but then lately they've been, and I don't know when this article I was reading was written, so it might even not be that lately. Um, was near the entrance to the park by the turnstile. So basically, just anybody who's going to be in the Phantasmic show, those characters are walking through the park all together at some point, and they'll stop and do a meet and greet. You just have to find them and be there for it. So that's kind of a cool thing because my daughters love meeting all the princesses and everybody else and getting the autographs and stuff. So that would be a good way to knock them all out in one sitting.
That's a fantastic one. Yeah, because there's, I think this was at Magic Kingdom a few years back, and we found this totally by accident. It wasn't by any tip. We were over in, oh no, I take it back. It was Epcot. We were over at America and eating at the American restaurant there, and there's a gate that's right by there and a long passway. So literally, we're sitting there and we're just seeing character after character coming in and out. So we got like 5 or 6 pictures right off the bat because they were right there. Like I said, totally found by accident. I guess that's an access point where they come in and out. So yeah, I think that's how people find that stuff, and then they share it. It's like, hey, if you stand here or go over here, you'll be in an area where these characters are kind of on their own, and then they'll be happy to take a picture with you, and then you get a bunch of
Yeah,
them at
because they
once.
can't say no
Yeah,
to kids.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, we found that, like I said, we just happened to be at the right place at the right time for that one.
Be a bad day to see Snow White over there smoking her cigarette saying, I don't want a picture right now. Go away, kid.
Yeah, exactly. Which would actually be the way I'd want to take a picture with Snow White. But yeah, I think the kids wouldn't want it.
You got anything else on Hollywood Studios before we move on to Epcot?
No, no, that was it.
Yeah. All right. So Epcot was originally supposed to actually be a futuristic neighborhood where people would work, live, and play. Basically, it was going to be a community. Epcot is an acronym that stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. It was to include a citywide monorail system, climate-controlled city center, and a community open to the new and emerging technologies of the future. Um, there's models of the original plans still around Epcot, or actually in Tomorrowland. I think that is a really cool idea, but I think that all of that got stuck in the 80s when I go there now, it seems like. It's
Yes,
like
I
this is
completely
what the
agree.
future was going to look like in the 80s, and the future looks it's like going back and watching Back to the Future 2 almost. This is what we think the future is going to look like, but it's we're in the future now and it's not like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with that. That park is extremely dated. As much as we enjoy going there, my son loves going still through Spaceship Earth. He loves the big ball. He loves the look of it. I think that's the symbol of it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very dated, and I think unfortunately, I know. Walt Disney was very passionate about getting this park built, even before when he was still alive. So it was something that was in gestation for a very, very long time. And I think, the people at Disney weren't really sure how to roll it out. And it seems like you said, I think they had a snapshot of it and didn't really think it through going with anything that's going to be futuristic. I think they didn't really take into account that that's something that would have to be revived or
Yeah,
revisited
the future
frequently.
evolves.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where I think they made the mistake there. I think the smart thing they did though was integrate the countries.
The
I think right, the
world tour,
world's
whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly. I think that's probably what most people enjoy when they go to Epcot. And obviously they've added the component of the Food and Wine Festival, which has been extremely successful, which I think was another brilliant way to get people to that park. I think the World Showcase, so it really keeps that park
showcase. That's it.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some issues with the Food and Wine Festival.
Uh-oh, what's that?
So my wife has been, we've been together 8 years now. For all 8 years, she's been trying to have a good trip to the Food and Wine Festival.
Uh-oh.
We've tried 3 times, and we never go and just like walk around the circle in order and like
Mhm.
see what's there. The problem is like we'll leave and well, first of all, I'm not very adventurous when it comes to food. I don't care. Like, just give me some chicken fingers, give me some pizza, I'm good. But so our problem has been is we'll go and we'll get there sometime between noon and 2 o'clock, where we're starving already. So then we can't just find whatever food we want to eat. We have to go because she'll like read the maps and all the books beforehand, so she'll know like I want to try this thing, this thing, this thing. But then we have to find like she wants to try something in France, but France is on the all the way on the other side of the circle. So
Oh,
we're trying to bounce around just to try and find something to eat so we're not starving. And then we have to go back and hit these other places. So it's always like this bouncing around, and we never get to like it's never just been an enjoyable jaunt around the circle to see kind of everything and eat, try different foods. And like I said, the whole time I'm starving, and they've got chicken tenders in the restaurant when you first walk in the park. I'm fine with that. But we can't do that. We've got to go find France to get the whatever they made. But this past year, she got to go with a group of her friends. They got there at like 10:30 and got to have the perfect trip that they wanted. I wasn't there dragging her down saying, just give me a slice of pizza now. She got to have that good time enjoying all the food and wine that she wanted, and I didn't have to walk around in a circle not eating any food.
well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Well, look, yeah, actually, my anniversary just passed here with my wife. We've been married 9 years, and no, it's the same thing. I think you realize that that's a trip maybe she needs to take on her own, and then both of you will be happy.
Yeah. The second time we went was the first time we went to Disney World with my now 4 year old, and we got there at like 2 o'clock and just starving because the way our schedule lined up, we hadn't eaten yet because we had the meal plan and everything. And my daughter's crying because she hasn't eaten yet. She's in between crying and sleeping, and like we're just trying to find one thing and we can't find it because it's not on the map right, and it just all hell broke loose for about 20 minutes, and it wasn't a good time. So I'm glad she got to go with her friends. And if she knows now that if she ever wants to do food and wine again, she goes with her friends and
Yeah,
not me and the kids.
exactly.
Because our kids couldn't care less about eating in Japan or uh, Britain or anywhere else either. So
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. I'm not an adventurous eater either, and I think I've gone with my wife. I've had a good time, but I think, like you said, I think what I did, I made sure that I had something to eat
yeah,
beforehand, because then I could actually pick and choose and then enjoy some of the stuff and then not be starving. So yeah, I definitely, if you're gonna do that, you definitely want to have a meal going into there, especially if you're not gonna, like you said, if you're not that adventurous of an eater, that's probably the way to do it. Because if not, like you said, yeah, you're walking around going, okay, there's nothing here I want to eat, and I'm getting more and more hungry.
right. And like get there at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and take your time going around the circle. Like just go around the circle. Don't try and figure out what you want. Just go around the circle. Find when you read the menus as you go by, and if you see something you like, stop and eat it. Don't try and go, oh, I definitely want this thing. Let me go to the middle and find that, and then we'll come back, because that circles are a lot bigger than it looks.
Oh yeah, and it's packed, and that's the one thing. Like I said,
Yeah,
going back to what I said before, that's not a game you want to play because pretty much every day of that, unless you're going in on a Wednesday afternoon, is pretty much packed. So
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely want to have a strategy of
And
picking
it's
which side you
hot
want to
and
start. Yep,
it's not,
yep,
yeah, once at right at about 11:15 it starts getting really really packed and like you can't move through the crowd. So if you get there before, you're pretty good at moving around. You can get probably halfway around that circle before the crowds start picking up.
yep.
So yeah, that's my food and wine horror story. Another interesting thing I read about Epcot was I just thought this was kind of funny or ironic. The USA Pavilion in the World Showcase is actually 5 stories tall, but they've used forced perspective and tall windows and doors to make it look like it's only 3 stories. And then the Canada Pavilion is only 3 stories tall, but has added rows of windows to make it appear 5 stories. I thought that was odd.
Yeah, that is odd. Did they say why they did that?
I think with the USA one, I think it's supposed to look like kind of like a large colonial home.
Okay.
I don't I didn't really see anything on the Canadian one of why it's 5 stories instead of three. Maybe it's what Canadian Parliament looks like or something. I don't know that much about Canada. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I just know that they seem very nice and they're to the north of us.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. I've been to Montreal a couple times, but I my Canada history is not good. Um, favorite attractions. I don't really. I've never gone to any of the attractions there. We never went when I was a kid, and every time we've gone there for food and wine, we get so caught up in food and wine that I don't get to do any of like the sciency stuff or the spaceship Earth, anything like that. I've never gotten to do any of that. We go on the Nemo ride and the Frozen ride with our kids, but other than that, I haven't gotten to do any of the what I would think is the fun stuff at Epcot. And then this time when we're going in December, we're skipping Epcot, so that's another chance I miss out on.
Yeah, and Epcot, like I said, I think Epcot is like I said that's a unique park. I think I remember when I was younger. I mean, that's the park that I think when you're a teenager, it's like, oh, this is boring, and you just want to go to Magic Kingdom. And then I think as you get older, you appreciate a little bit more with the worlds. But yeah, I think with your kids, I think of the if you're going to skip a park, that's probably going to be the one you're going to skip.
Oh yeah, definitely. The only upside to Epcot right now is that's where you meet Anna and Elsa from Frozen, and
Right.
my 4-year-old's going to take that pretty hard when she finds out that we're not going there. But we're doing the since we're going in December, they're having the um, it's like the Christmas celebration or whatever. So we're going to the special like Christmas party with all the characters and everything. So hopefully they'll be there, and that'll soften the burn of not being able to see them in Epcot.
Yeah, hopefully they will be there. Yeah, definitely.
And then I didn't really find a tip for the park because there's not that much. I mean, going during food and wine, going early, like we talked about, would be a good tip. This one was more of a prank that I found. So if you go with your friends and you go by the African Outpost, which is actually a really cool section, they've got kind of these big bongo drums and stuff that the kids like to play, and like that. That's always kind of what of the World Showcase. That's one of my more favorite parts. But apparently, there's some crates off to the side that if you send one of your friends over to open them, and they will probably get sprayed with some water. So that's a good, to me, that's a good
That's a
prank
good.
to plan your friend. Like, hey, go see what's in those crates over there. Then they'll get sprayed with water, and you can laugh at them for the rest of the day.
I like
Or
that one.
if it's a hot day in July, go over there and open the crate yourself.
Exactly. Even better. No, I avoid the parks. We don't go to the parks basically from probably April through October. We
You
don't
can't
go.
do it. You can't do
Don't.
it.
Nope. Too
We
crowded, too hot.
the first time we went, I think we went in September or October. It was like early October. Yeah, because it
Mhm.
was during Halloween, or like because they do whatever holiday celebration they do for the whole month. So like they
Right.
had all the at some places they had all their Halloween costumes on and things like that. So it was in October the first time, and then the next time we went was in March. Um, so March was still a little hot, but it was bearable.
Right.
But yeah, any other time, there's no way.
Yeah, and that's where and then we used this past summer, like I said, to do that was perfect for the quick little trips because even if it was warm, we were coming in as it was getting darker, still a little humid out, and sometimes it rained, but we were only there for a couple of hours, so it wasn't that bad. And again, everybody was leaving, so it was very, very limited people in the park, even in the summertime. So that's when we go, is we do the quick trip in the summer for a couple of hours. That's it.
Yeah, that would be the way to go in the summer. You get there
Mhm.
6 or 7 when it starts to cool off, like you said.
Yep.
All right, you got anything else on Epcot?
Nope, that's it.
All right, Epcot is for some reason the most boring park. Now to the main event, the Magic Kingdom,
Yeah,
everybody's favorite.
absolutely.
I'd hate to go through life having like Epcot be your favorite. I don't. I don't know how you'd be able to handle that. So the Magic Kingdom. The most interesting fact. I don't know if it's the most interesting fact. I think it's interesting. Um, Except for the big flag, like right in the middle of everything, all of the flags on Main Street are purposely misprinted. So they're not actually American flags. They have the wrong number of stars or the wrong number of stripes, something like that. And they do this because they don't have to follow flag code with any of them, except for the
Ah,
main one.
right.
Um, so, every time it has to be gone to half mast, you'd have to do like 50 flags, and instead they just have to do the one, or they have to pull them down every night and put them back up every morning. They only have to do the main one in the middle, follows flag code, but everything else is misprinted, so they don't have to do that. I thought that was like a really sneaky, cool way to do something like that. And the next time I go, I'm definitely going to pay attention and try and see if I can see some of the misprints.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm definitely going to check that out. I never even thought about that. And I'm wondering if they were smart enough to do that at the beginning, or did they
They
have
learned
real
the hard
flags at
way.
first and go, oh, we can't do this?
It was like they started with 10 flags and they're like, all right, this isn't bad. And then as they got higher and higher, they're like, nah, we can't do this. We got to do something. I would, if it were me, I would put Mickey's as the stars. Instead of stars, you have Mickey's there. Nobody's really going to tell the difference.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't done that, and maybe they were
Maybe they
afraid
do.
of backlash. Yeah, and maybe they do. Either yeah, maybe they do, and we're not seeing it, or maybe they considered it and maybe said, you know what, no, let's not
People
do
would
that.
notice it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, let's
People
not do
would
that.
notice it and say it's akin to burning the flag, even though it's
Right.
not. Like, um, could you find anything? I'm sure that you could find interesting things on the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and it was funny. It was more of a personal story. I was speaking and getting ready for the show. I was talking to my stepdad. So he grew up in Miami and went to the park in 1970, the first year it opened.
Hmm.
And he was telling me a story. He I don't know if he still has it. I wish I would have because I would have taken a picture of it. He kept the ticket that he bought because the tickets for the Magic Kingdom in 1970 were $15.
Oh
And
man.
the way the park, but the thing is, the way the park used to be, it was set up more like your current day carnival. So you would
Right.
pay an admission fee, and then you would get tickets and pay for those tickets to get on rides. So that's the way the park was set up when it initially opened. So it wasn't you pay your fee and then ride all the rides. You'd have to pay, get tickets to get on specific rides. And I don't remember how many rides were open when the park first opened, but that's how they did it. But yeah, it was $15 to go to the Magic Kingdom in 1970 when it opened. So I thought that was interesting as well. Um, I've got the other story, which I think we'll talk about maybe later. It's more of the strange story or more of the legend or lore about
Yeah, go
Walt
ahead with it.
Disney being. Well, I've heard the story since I was a little kid. I moved to New York from to Florida from New York in 1978 and started going to the park in the 80s. And this story has been around at least that long, probably longer. There's a rumor, or some people say it's not a rumor, that Walt Disney's head is located underneath Cinderella's castle. Now, the
His
legend is it
frozen
was
head.
Frozen Head, correct? Frozen
Yes.
Head. So obviously, the baseball player Ted Williams. There's a similar story with that with
Hmm.
cryonics for a different show. But basically, for the future, so they could bring him back, and being the innovator that he is. Now, I know that there is a network of tunnels underneath the park, and that's true. That
Yes.
part is true. So obviously, I think that's built from that lore, and I'm sure there's secret passageways in the park that nobody knows about. I have no doubt about that. I don't know if I believe that his frozen head is there, but I've heard this story for 40 years, and it's never gone away. That's the strangest one I've heard. I'm like, wow, okay. And it's you almost hear it so many times where you start to go, oh, I wonder if it's you start to half believe it because you hear it
Yeah.
so often.
Well, it's
But
more
I
fun to
don't.
believe that one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good story, and like you said, that's one of those urban legends that just is going to keep perpetuating until they thaw him out and he comes back.
And then there's another interesting story. I was actually at baseball, my son's little league, and there's a gentleman there and you may know about this. There's actually a club, and I forgot what it's called, but it's called after a number, and I forgot the number.
Yeah, it's 300. It's like 357 Club or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. And I've never heard of this literally till, and it's funny, it's a coincidence. I literally not heard of this until a week ago. And because he was talking about it because he has a friend of his who is a successful businessman in Orlando that travels around the world that's a member that just became a member of this club.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, so I guess part of the perks is in every park, and they just actually added it to, I think, Disney World. It's always been a Disneyland. There's literally, if you go down Main Street in Disneyland, there's a secret door with that number on it that
Hmm.
nobody can get in. It looks like it's a dummy door, but it's actually a door to an entire like club, that the members of this club can only get in and have access to. And then they literally have repeated that here recently at Disney World. And so the club members can only go in, and I think the club members can bring a guest if they are a club member. So he was telling me this at the game that he's hoping that he's going to get to go. But it's literally the way they do it is they have an email that's set up. So it's basically club357 at disney.com, whatever the email is. So
Hmm.
you send them an email and say, hey, I'd like to be a member, and then you hear nothing. You send an email. They don't even send you an acknowledgement that they received your email. And you could literally be waiting 10, 15, 20 years before they respond. They'll say, we have a spot open if you want to come in. So literally 10 years after you've sent this email, you might get an email back. You
Like
probably will
having
never get
premium
an email
package
back.
season
Yeah.
tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it was fascinating, and it was like, and it's just one of those things, just an exclusive club that exists within Disney World. And I know there's other things that people do. I've seen other documentaries about Disney where there's certain other things that either VIPs have access to or only certain people do,
Oh
or
yeah, there's all
yeah,
kinds of crazy
all
stuff.
kinds of stuff. But that was one of the craziest ones I heard. I literally just found that out a few days ago.
Yeah, in my research, that it kept coming up that and this wasn't the story I prepared, but I wanted to talk about it now that we were talking about crazy things. Um, like thousands of people bring their significant others' ashes there to just sprinkle around the park, and they find all these creative ways to hide them to get them in. And like most of them want to do it in the haunted mansion, but like people have done it in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a small world, basically anywhere they can try and get them. And I just think like that's insane. First of all, they're going to get confiscated from you because you're not smarter than the security at Disney World. I'm sorry. So then you're just going to lose your loved one's ashes for however long Disney jail decides to keep it. And second of all, like why is that what you would want to do with that?
Yeah, that's bizarre. I mean, I guess the only comparable thing is if I'm a Yankees fan. Not that I want this to happen. A Yankees fan wanting his ashes in Yankee Stadium, or a fan of whatever they are. So I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are passionate about Disney. My wife being one of them. I'm a big fan myself. My wife's a huge fan, but I can see why people would want to do it. But that's really, I agree with you. That's not the smartest thing to do. Come
No.
up with a creative way, maybe to honor your love of Disney in your own area, not taking it actually to the park. That's probably
Yeah.
not the best plan.
And yeah, it's just gonna get vacuumed up anyways. Like it's not gonna
Exactly.
stay there.
Exactly.
They're pretty good at cleaning up around Disney World.
Yeah, exactly. They
um,
probably, yeah, exactly. The ceremony, then they vacuum you up. So, yeah, I don't think you'd want to go out like that. No.
so this was another thing that I read that I thought was very strange, and apparently it happens more often than you would think. A site called the Disney Fanatic reports that a visitor once attempted to smuggle a large bag onto Space Mountain. When the visitor refused to open the bag after being stopped by the ride's cast members, security arrived. They found a 6-month-old baby inside that the parent was trying to hide in the bag in order to go on Space Mountain. Like, what
Wow.
the hell are you doing with your life?
I,
And
I
I
can't.
read like 3 stories that were exactly like that.
Why do I know I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter and being in Florida, the infamous Florida man, whoever
Florida
that
man,
may
yeah.
be. That seems like I would see that on Florida man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. And then so I was showing my wife my notes before we were recording just to see if she had anything to add because she loves Disney and she puts way too much thought into all of our trips, and it's great that she does because you need that when planning a
Oh,
Disney
that's my
trip.
wife too. No, my wife is the
Um,
planner, and I'm glad.
I mean, I would be completely lost if I tried to go
Yeah.
there without her. But so I'm showing her, and she said she read one that somebody recently basically tried to report a child as abandoned, and like so she found security and said that I found this child abandoned, and turned out it was her kid. So when she's telling me the story, I'm like, oh, so she was just going to report it as abandoned, go on whatever ride she wanted to go on, and then like find the kid in the lost and found later when there's a different person looking after the kid. And she's like, no, like she was literally trying to abandon her child at Disney World. I was like, that's very strange.
Oh, that sounds like a plot to a bad movie.
Yes.
What
Very
would
bad.
happen to the little kid that's abandoned? That's like a bad movie.
Yeah, and then he grows up on the streets of Disney World,
Exactly.
scrounging
Sweeping Main Street.
scrounging for mice with all the feral cats they supposedly let out at night.
Maybe they can link it up like with Tarzan and or Oliver Twist and or they can just they'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah. He just hides in that tree on Tom Sawyer Island at closing time so nobody can find him.
I think we
That's
got
a
the
good
script
movie.
worked out. We just got
Yeah,
to
I
pound
think
this
we got
out. I think we just got to write the screenplay. We got this.
yeah. All right, coming to a theater in 2020.
Exactly.
One of my favorite things about Magic Kingdom is my daughter getting to go there and seeing the magic of it, or my daughters now. But my older daughter, Emily, the first time we went, she had never seen Cinderella at this time, didn't know who Cinderella, the fairy godmother, or anything like that was. But my wife knew that they did the little opening show where everybody comes out and sings and, they put on a little show. So we're like, oh, we'll get there early, make sure we see the show because we think she'd really like that. She likes all the characters and things like that. So we get there and they do the show, and the last part of the show is the fairy godmother comes out on the uppermost balcony of the castle and says, I need you to say the magic words with me and we'll open the parks. They say bippity boppity boo, and she waves her wand and fireworks go off. My daughter like fell in love with that completely. She'd never seen the fairy godmother before, didn't know who she was, but that's all she could talk about for the entire trip was that part with the fairy godmother was so cool. I just want to meet her. And then like we got to meet her at like one of the meet and greets later, and like she just like was starstruck by the fairy godmother. If there's any kids listening, I don't really want to spoil their fun. So, but yeah, just completely starstruck and like gave her the biggest hug and was like, "You're my favorite person in the whole world," all like out of nowhere, and just
Wow.
from 3 words on the top of the castle at the beginning of the day. And now, anytime we go to Magic Kingdom, obviously we have to be there early enough for the show because that's her favorite part of the day. No matter how many rides we go on, no matter how many other princesses we meet, we got to see the fairy godmother show
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's always a great time when your kids discover something that they just love
when
and
there's
for
magic
me,
in it for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's magic in it. Yeah, because what we did, we actually did a little adventure, like a scavenger hunt that we had them do, where he had to find things all around the park, and it was Peter Pan themed. And
Hmm.
then at the very end of it, he got to meet Peter Pan. He was just blown away. He loves
Oh,
Peter
that's
Pan.
cool.
Yeah, so he got to have a basically, it's usually it worked out really great because it's usually they have it, set up for several families to do it. But the schedule that we went on and the time that we went, we were the only ones. So
Oh, that's cool.
he literally got to do it with the employee through the whole scavenger hunt by himself. And then when Peter Pan appeared at the end, he got to basically have alone time with Peter Pan, talk to Peter Pan, get his autograph, photos. So he was over the moon. He just loved it. He loved it.
Yeah,
It's stuff like
that's
that
great.
and it's great because I grew up going to Disney World, and then when you're an adult, you don't really go. And before I got married, I really didn't go at all
Hmm.
as an adult. But then when I got married, then we had our little one, and then kind of going back to it where you can just, like I said, see it through their eyes. It just makes it makes the stuff that's not so fun when you're an adult to go to those parks. You just don't even think about it because you see your kids having so much fun that you don't even care about the stuff that may annoy you if you went on your own. It's great. It's a great way to kind of revisit those parks.
Well, yeah, like when we were kids, me and my brother, I think the first time we went, I was 8 and he was probably 10. Um, we went like we didn't do any character meets. We didn't care about character. I was afraid of it. Like I wouldn't even talk to Chuck E. Cheese at Chuck E. Cheese. Like I did not want to meet any characters anywhere. And like my brother was just kind of over it by that time.
Yeah,
So we didn't do any character meet and greets. We got to go on kind of all the older rides. So like there's so much stuff in just in Magic Kingdom that like I never experienced because we went
yeah,
kind of later in life, and now with my daughters we get to do it through their eyes, and it's so cool. Like the first time I went, and my wife's talking about, oh, we got to meet this person, meet this person. I'm like, do we really need to like stop and meet princesses? Like, is she really gonna care? And like, it's her favorite part. Like, she wants to
yeah.
meet all of them. She wants to meet all the Mickey and Donald and Minnie. And if there's a Minnie in this section and a Minnie in that section that are dressed differently, she's got to meet both of them. Like, and
Absolutely. You can't miss one.
it's it's kind of a pain to sit in those lines, but
Yeah.
like it's worth it once we get to the end, and she just kind of gets starstruck and like talks to them and interacts with them, and we get to catch it all on tape. And now with cell phones, you can catch a million pictures of it and not miss any of it.
Yeah, it's the best. It really is the best. I mean, it's great, and I know how fortunate we are. I mean, I think the thing that me and my wife actually talk about it a lot, and we feel bad because I think always the big issue is the price it is to go to the parks, and and it's unfortunate. I know, they're building things, and then prices go up, and that's the thing. It's something that every kid should get to do.
Yes.
I know I'm fortunate that we're able to do that for our child and be able to go regularly, and that's something that we don't take for granted because it's such a fun experience, and it's a magical place. It is, and it sounds cliche to say it, but it's true. I mean, kids go there and they're in a different world, and they love that world, and they're happy in that world. So anything that makes kids happy like that and puts them in a place where they're happy, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and like Disney is so good at providing that, and then it's fun for adults too if you
Yep,
look for it.
absolutely.
So like my favorite ride is Space Mountain. My kids can't go on Space Mountain, so I haven't been in a couple years. But this time, now that we've got the grandparents in tow, I'll be able to go on Space Mountain, and I'm really looking forward to that. And then they've got the Seven Dwarfs roller coaster, which is a new one I think just in the last 2 years, and that's a really good roller coaster as even like for an adult. And that's becoming. I'll have to go on Space Mountain again because I haven't gone in so long. But Seven Dwarfs Mine Train might be one of my new favorites.
Yeah, I have to do that one. I haven't done that one actually. I always that's one. It's funny because you're with my little one. I always forget. We actually took him on the Goofy roller coaster. I don't know
The
if you've
Goofy
been on
roller
that one.
coaster is really good too. Yeah.
It's really, really good. And we took him on because he was because my little guy's littler than normal. So, but he was
Hmm.
able to get on that one. We were all excited. Oh, we're like, it's going to be fun. He's like, oh, it's a roller coaster. I'm not sure. So we got on it. I thought it was fantastic. We got off the ride. My little one looks at me and goes, "Don't ever do that again. Don't ever put me on that again." I'm like, "Okay, I understood." He's like,
Yeah.
he didn't scream or cry. I mean, he was a trooper about it, but he's like, "Yeah, we're not doing that again." He made
Yeah.
that very
No,
clear.
my daughters both love any kind of ride, but the Goofy roller coaster is the only one that they'll do with me because I can't go. Basically, anything that spins, I can't do. I get motion sickness.
Right.
So my older daughter Emily, her favorite ride is the Dumbo ride, and she went on the first time we went. She went on the Dumbo ride 7 times, I want to say.
Wow.
So I'm just sitting there like watching it, and like I don't care because she's got the biggest smile on her face the whole time, so I don't mind
Yep.
just like standing off to the side watching. But I'm like, well, I want to go on a ride with her, and she eventually agreed to do the Goofy roller coaster with me, and she loved that too, which was great. And then the last time we went, she was big enough to go on the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train with us, and she did one ride with me and then one ride with my wife, while the other one watched our younger daughter. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Did you say your favorite ride?
Magic Kingdom, that's a tough one because I think
There's a lot of good stuff there.
that's a lot of good stuff. I mean, look, I just said Goofy Roller Coaster. That was one of my favorite rides, and I just ran on that one. It's tough. My least favorite is It's a Small World. I know that we were going to. I
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
good thank. Let me tell you, I can't even thank my lucky stars enough that my son has no desire to go on that thing. I can't even. I dodged that bullet, and I'm so happy because I
We go on
cannot.
that probably 2 or 3 times because the line's never long. Like the line moves really good, and
True.
like it's fine. Like if you can block the song out, it's
I
fine.
can't though. I know the
Yeah,
thing is I can. You know what it is? I can block it out for about halfway through the ride. Like I'm
yeah,
like when I first get, I'm like, all right, I'm sitting down. It's probably cool in here when it's hot outside, so it's nice. I can rest. So I try to be positive, and then about halfway through, I'm like, I
it
can't, I
gets you.
can't. I got to get out of this ride. So I got about halfway through it, I'm good, and then the other half, I'm just like, get me out of here.
My kids talk a lot, so that helps. They're
Oh
talking.
yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
what's that over there? Do you see that? Oh yeah, yeah. So that's always very helpful.
And I even like Pirates of the Caribbean.
I haven't gone on Pirates of the Caribbean in a really long time because we went. I went with my family, like before I was married. I was 18, 19 years old, and we went. And Pirates of the Caribbean was closed that time because that was when they were updating it to include kind of some of the stuff from the movies.
Right.
So this was, I don't know, 15 years ago almost. And so I missed out on it that time. So I haven't been on Pirates of the Caribbean in probably 20 years. And I want to go on that again, but we don't think our girls can handle it because of like the cannonballs and stuff, like all that
Funny you say
the
that.
loud
Yep.
rain.
Yeah, my grandmother took me when I was still living in New York. She took me to Orlando when I was 5, and that's the first time I ever went to Magic Kingdom and loved it. But I'll never forget it. I was always afraid of loud noises. So I didn't love
Hmm.
fireworks. I wasn't, yeah, loud noises really scared me. So literally, I'm going through the Pirates of the Caribbean, exactly what you said. The ride was fine. So I started sitting on the seat, and then when I got to the cannons part, literally at the end of the ride, I was under the seat. My poor grandmother's trying to pull me out. She's like, all right, it's time to get off the ride. I'm like, I'm not getting out of here. These noises are crazy. So that was my first experience on it. But yeah, definitely it's loud. And I remember. So yeah, if girl's afraid of that, they probably wouldn't like that.
Yeah. I think we have passes to go on at this time because we have enough people to kind of watch the girls if we want to switch off.
There you go.
Um, and my tip for Magic Kingdom was for the Festival of Fantasy Parade, which is a great parade as far as parades go. If you like parades, definitely stop for this one because it is fun to see everyone dancing and they sing all the songs and it's really great. Um, the it said the best place to find your spot for the Festival of Fantasy Parade is actually towards the entrance of Magic Kingdom underneath the train station. There it's kind of a shaded area there, and you can also it's where the parade ends, so you'll be like the last people to see everything, but you can see it coming for a really long time, and you kind of get it. There's a circle that they do at right at the end, right near the entrance of the Magic Kingdom, so you kind of get to see everything twice. So that was the best tip I could find is get under that train station, get some shade, and sit and watch the parade from there because it is a really fun parade to watch, except for the time the dragon's head caught on fire a couple months ago.
Oh, I saw that video. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
was pretty crazy. That was
th-
like a month after we went. Like it was really close to when we went the last time.
yeah, no, that was crazy because I had heard the story, and then when I came home, I think I heard it on the radio, and then on the way home, when I got home, I saw the video. I was like, because I'm thinking, oh, it probably wasn't that bad. I mean, things happen. And then I saw
Yeah,
the video. I'm like, oh my God,
that thing
that was
caught fire.
bad. Yeah, that was bad.
So beware of that. But other than that, the parade's really great to watch if you enjoy sitting in one place and watching people dance by you.
Yeah, that's the thing I think for us when we look at any of those various parades is finding those spots. And I wish I could give you a spot right off the top of my head, but again, this is my wife's department.
Yeah.
She'll drag me and the little one over to the spot where we always go. It's usually strategically. So one because the two things is that you got to sit and wait. So wherever
Hmm.
you're going to be at, you want one to be kind of comfortable where if you have to sit down, stand up, sit down, where it's not uncomfortable, and two, have a good vantage point when the parade starts. So yeah, that's definitely I would encourage people to get there early, find a good spot where they think they're going to be good, and then just wait it out. Because
Yeah.
normally those parades are worth the wait.
Yeah, and the first time we went, it was funny. We found a spot, and we happened to be next to a who seemed to be I can't confirm, but it seemed to be a cast member who was there on her day off because she was like all of the characters were coming over to her and like shaking her hand and like saying hi to her. So
Oh
we
wow.
were and she was like singing either she's there every weekend in that same spot or she's a cast member that everyone already knew. Um, because she was like singing along with it. She was like narrating. She was like, okay, this person's coming next, and then this person, and like my daughter's asking, oh, when are Anna and Elsa coming? When's this person coming? She's like, oh, they'll be after that and that. So she like knew everything ahead of time. So like we kind of had a insider access to the information of the parade as it was coming, and we were still front row center for it. So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
She got a little annoying at some parts though, because she would kind of like try and overshadow what was going on by with her knowledge. But you live with that.
Exactly.
Um, you got anything else on Magic Kingdom?
No, that's it. I mean, I think it's and I think that's why you saved it for last, rightfully so. It's still the best park of all the four. I do think that Hollywood Studios for me actually has become my second favorite park.
Yeah, and
Um, I,
it's getting better and better each
it's
time
getting
too.
better and better, and I never used to say that. It would be, you know, almost an afterthought. But I think they've obviously with the acquisition of Marvel and of Star Wars, they've and then the integration of Toy Story now, they finally utilized it to its maximum potential. And I
Hmm.
think it's just going to get better. Yeah, I'm completely excited about the. I mean, my wife and I are already talking about staying at the Star Wars hotel when it gets built and doing all of that. My wife became a late Star Wars fan. She never cared about Star Wars, but now she loves stories with continuing things. So she's all in on Star Wars, which I never thought she would be. But she's
I
actually
can't get my
a new
wife in. I'm
fan.
trying to brainwash my kids though. They've seen the
Yeah.
original trilogy. They like Luke Skywalker and Leia. I'm waiting until next year. We're gonna do the prequels next year and then the sequel trilogy the year after. I'm a little afraid because my 2-year-old she's seen the original trilogy, but she was less than 2 when she saw it. So her
Right.
first like real uh experience might be the prequel trilogy. So I might have to do a special rewatch of the original trilogy with her first before we go into the prequels, because that can't be your first
Yeah, no,
immersion
absolutely
in the
not.
Star Wars world.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can't
Can't
do that to
start
your
there.
kid.
Yeah, they
No, no, you
love.
got.
We have all these little toy lightsabers, and they love playing lightsabers. And we've got like these foam blocks that they build lightsabers out of, and go around and fight the bad guys. So they're getting there. I'm
All right,
trying
no, I
not to
think you got
push
them on
too
their way.
hard, because if I
Yeah, I think
push
you got them
too
on their way.
hard, then they'll bounce back. But I think um, we haven't been to Disney World since they've seen it, so it'll be interesting to see if they kind of enjoy looking at the Star Wars stuff with me this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's Disney World.
Yeah, no,
That's
good times. Yeah, it's a good place, and like I said, I hope anybody that can, even if they can only come once. Like I said, I know being in Florida, we're fortunate that we
yeah.
get to do it frequently. But it's definitely worth a trip for your kids, especially if they're into that stuff, and I encourage everyone to go.
It's definitely, it's a lot of money, but it's once you get there and you experience it, you find out that it was worth the money if like that's going to be what you do with your kids.
Yeah.
And it's important. I don't know that's important, but it's a great experience for kids of pretty much any age. They you can find something to do and to enjoy there.
Yeah, I agree. And no, I think they've definitely um going back to the Epcot part, I think Disney has realized, and I think we're lucky in this kind of time frame that we're in, because I think we're in the middle of a rebirth of Disney to add new things. So I think with a
Hmm.
park that big, a lot of times change comes slowly. But
Yeah.
as you've seen in the last 3 to 4 years and going into the next 4 to 5 years, it's accelerated, to the nth degree. So that's just only great for people that, haven't been before, and then people like us that go all, frequently, that we're really going to see in the next few years. Literally every time we go, there's going to be new things there, which is exciting.
Right. And I think with the Toy Story world, I have a feeling that it's the start of a Pixar world. Like I think they're just going to keep building on it with other Pixar properties. You can have Incredibles there. You can have Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Cars. There's so much to do with just inside the Pixar framework, that they can keep expanding that. And I hope they do, and I kind of have a feeling that that's what they're going to try to do. Or I would hope
Yeah, I
that
would
they do.
think so. Yeah, especially with the, we'll look, especially with the huge, phenomenal success of Incredibles 2,
Hmm.
and then most of the Pixar movies. Yeah, I think that would just completely make sense. I mean, that's a whole other brand in itself. Again, like you said, like with Star Wars and stuff
I
that
would
they can
think
independently do.
Incredibles would probably be the next one to build out into, because, like you said, they kind of got momentum behind that right now, and
Yeah.
there's so much you can do within the superhero framework, and they don't have full control of everything Marvel yet, so they can't build out this Marvel world yet because the licensing is still kind of shared between all these different companies. So I think they would want to hold off on something like that until they can do it right. But you can start building out, like, if you want to do something superhero related, use the Incredibles. You can do a whole Cars park where everything's car related. There's so much to do within Pixar.
Yeah, no, definitely. They have endless potential there with those movies.
All right. Well, thank you, Frank, for joining me and talking about Disney World. I hope your trip in the next couple of weeks goes well, and I'm looking forward to my trip. Do you want to tell the listeners where they can find you one more time?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and thanks for having me on. It was great to talk Disney World, and yeah, have a great trip yourself. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to Toy Story Land and everything else we're going to see. Again, my podcast is Let Me Bend Your Ear Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Bend Your Ear Pod. That's also the handle on Instagram. The show's available on Google Play. Or Google Podcast, excuse me, because Google Play is a little bit shaky now. With Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Castbox.
Awesome. Hey, this is an ad about something. Audible, to be exact. Audible is a great way to catch up on all your favorite stories while on the go. Audible includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers. I've been using Audible for years on my daily commute to catch up on some of my favorite fantasy stories, including Harry Potter, The Once and Future King, and A Song of Ice and Fire, narrated by the Guinness World Record holder Roy Dotrice. I also love getting Audible's recommendations. Just recently, Audible recommended that I read Armada and Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and Spectacularly narrated by Will Wheaton. I listened to both of these stories and loved them both because the narration by Will Wheaton just made the stories even more enjoyable and immersive than if I would have read them on my own. So if you love books, I've got some great news for you. Right now, for my listeners, you can get any audiobook you want from Audible for free when you sign up for your free trial of Audible using audibletrial.com/a-podcast-about-something. Again, to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/a-podcast-about-something. Thanks for listening.
And now it's time for the 2-minute ISO.
But first, listen to this promo from one of my fellow podcasters.
Hi, this is Dustin.
And Brianna.
We're a couple who love all things Disney. We decided to sit down twice a month to discuss and analyze a variety of Disney films and topics with a grown-up's perspective and an adult sense of humor.
Dishing Disney will give film reviews with the memories of a child filtered through an adult frame of mind. We've noticed some things about our beloved Disney movies that we didn't pick up on as kids, and now we want to talk about them. Plus, we'll do a bonus Top 5 episode every month where we make our ultimate lineups regarding the topic of the day.
So wish upon a star, give a little whistle, and be a part of our world as we explore the wonderful world of Disney together. This is Dishing Disney.
Today we've got a very special 2-minute ISO. My daughter Emily will be joining me. She's 4 now. She hasn't been on the show for a while, so we're taking a trip to Disney World soon, so I wanted to have her on to get her thoughts on the upcoming trip. Hi Emily, how are you tonight?
Hi, I'm good. Happy Neighbors Day.
Happy Neighbors Day. Were you playing Daniel Tiger?
Yes.
Oh, and they were celebrating Neighbors Day? That's pretty cool.
And should we talk about Mickey's house?
Yes, we're talking about Mickey's house because on this episode it was all about Mickey's house. Can you believe that? I talked to somebody else about Mickey's house?
No.
Okay, Emily. So now we've switched microphones because you think it's funny to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part of Mickey's house?
That is the Stuffins.
Doc McStuffins?
Yeah.
When we meet her
Yeah.
and watch that show?
Yeah.
Who else do you like to meet?
I wish they had Liam and Hallie.
Yeah, they don't have all those Doc McStuffins people, but you like meeting the princesses, right?
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite princess to meet?
All of them.
What about Fairy Godmother?
Yes.
Yeah. She does the show at the beginning, right?
Yes.
What does she do?
That is true.
What does she do?
Well, she plays her magic wand and she says, "Bippity boppity boo."
Bippity boppity. And then what happens?
Fireworks come
Fireworks.
down.
Yeah, it's cool, huh?
Yeah.
The first time we went, that was your favorite part.
Yeah.
And then we got to meet Fairy Godmother.
Yeah.
And then what's your favorite ride?
All of them.
It's not Dumbo?
Yeah.
You like the spinny ones, don't you?
Yeah.
I can't go on the spinny ones.
No.
Which one do you like going on with Dada?
All of them.
Which ones did we go on together? Do you remember?
The Doofy ride, but that was a little, like spinny. A little.
It spun a little. The Goofy roller coaster spins. We went on the Seven Dwarfs roller coaster too.
Yeah.
And we like going on It's a Small World together, don't we?
Next time, well, I am then close my eyes of the witch.
On the Seven Dwarfs, yeah.
It's like what is it who does the apple or the tween?
It was the witch who gives the apple.
Okay.
And you closed your eyes. Yeah, you didn't see
Yeah.
her. And then we saw Olaf, right?
Yeah.
And we rode on that Frozen ride. And did Anna lie to us and tell us that Marshmallow
Yeah.
wasn't mean?
Yeah.
And then he was mean. He spit water on us, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Cam likes best?
I think she I think she just like the. I think I wasn't when she was think she liked it when we went it. I think she liked it when we went on like the Snow White ride.
She didn't get to go on the Snow White ride.
No,
She went on the teacups. She really liked that.
Yeah.
She didn't really like meeting the people like you did, though, did she?
I wasn't gonna say that, but I think she liked the like spinning down like the thing of the bungee and when we were on the Snow White roller coaster.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got what
Yeah.
You know what she also liked in Animal Kingdom, or the Lion King world as we call it? She liked that big playground with all the bones and the sandbox that we discovered this time. We didn't know about the sandbox the first time, did we?
No.
And she was, whenever you would meet people, she would kind of sit in front of the people while you would go over and hug them and talk to them.
Yeah, like
she's in our picture.
And stuff.
What are you looking forward to? We're going to Mickey's house in a couple weeks. What are you looking forward to most?
Well, Elena, Avalor, and like Cinderella.
You want to meet them? Okay. Anything else?
And the fairy godmother.
What about are we doing anything special like for lunches or dinners, do you remember?
Yeah, we're meeting Belle, and the other special thing is Chef Mickey.
Yeah, Chef Mickey. We did that the first time, didn't we? It was so much fun. They're all there and they're dressed like chefs, all Mickey and Goofy and Donald and Minnie.
Yeah, but Minnie's like this and a chef hat or an apron. Yes.
And then, do you know what else we get to do because we're going around Christmas time?
No.
Didn't Mama tell you?
No.
We're going to a cool Christmas party with all the people. Yeah, I thought Mama told you that.
Oh. I guess I just forgot.
Well, that'll be a fun surprise then when we get there.
Yes.
Anything else you want to talk about Mickey's house before we go?
4.
Okay.
Like, know how like Poppy and Branch isn't there?
Nope, they're not there. They're from a different show.
Yep. Well, they're kinda like from like Mickey's house.
Well, they're cartoons, but they're not. See, there's different types of movies. There's Disney movies, which all the Disney movies, they're at Mickey's house. And then there's other movies. Poppy is a DreamWorks movie, so they don't get to go to Mickey's house.
Yeah, that is true. But know how I rated that list and Vampirina is there?
Yep, said Vampirina's there. We don't like Vampirina.
Let me talk.
Oh, sorry.
I want to meet Vampirina.
You want to meet Vampirina? Okay, that could be fun.
I think she's for Christmas. Only for Christmas. I think she's gonna go home to her dada and mama.
In Transylvania.
So, after Christmas.
You know what else they're gonna have this time? The Toy Story World.
Yay!
That'll be fun. We haven't been to that yet.
No! I want to go there.
We're gonna go soon.
Yay!
All right. You got anything else to say to the listeners?
Well, one thing's for sure. Are there Power Rangers?
No Power Rangers at Mickey's
house.
house.
That's because I don't like Power Rangers.
No, there is Star Wars, though, at Mickey's house. We kind of like Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You like Luke Skywalker and Leia.
That's right. I like that toy.
Yeah, you like that Luke Skywalker toy I have.
Yeah. I kind of just say hi, sweetie, or something. Yeah, that's all I do. Get that out of there.
Get that out of there. That's in the glass, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, like,
But you got your own.
that's
Luke
what I
Sky-
said what he did.
You got your own Luke Skywalker and Leia.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, say bye, listeners. Thank you for listening.
Wait, I
Okay.
have
Oh,
some
sorry.
more
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah,
to
sure.
say.
Go ahead.
So, well, is Luke Skywalker there?
I haven't seen him actually there before, but maybe. You never know. There's
Yeah.
pictures of him.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I don't think you had watched Star Wars before the last time we went.
Yeah, maybe a lot. We can find the same toy, like and the Toy Story.
Maybe we can
And
look.
then we can like share all our Luke Skywalkers.
Yeah.
Cause like if we find him at the Toy Story, I mean the like where's it called then?
At the toy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might find him so we can share.
Yep. That would be
That's
good.
all I have to say
Okay.
today. So
Okay. Say thank you.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you for listening, class.
Thank you to Emily for joining me on this 2-minute ISO today. We are very excited for our trip to Disney World coming up soon. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate and review and subscribe on iTunes. You can send us feedback through email at podcastaboutsomething@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at APAsomething. And you can support us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/podcastaboutsomething. And if you don't want to do like the monthly recurring donation, we will always accept donations through PayPal. You can just PayPal podcastaboutsomething@gmail.com. It does cost money to run a podcast. And so anything that you can give to help support and keep us going would be great. The music for a podcast about something, as always, is provided by Those Cats. Thank you for listening. Stay classy.